We started here together as a team about 3 years ago. In 2006, I came on board here. A couple of things we had to take a very hard look at in our district was the first thing we had to look at was our facilities. Our buildings are aging, and not to be just a brief history lesson. I think what happened, everybody knows what happened to the community 15, 20 years ago. We had a pretty significant collapse in our infrastructure. And you had to make very harsh and difficult decisions during those times. Some things have to be let go. Sometimes you have to take a look at your infrastructure and your facilities if you want to maintain programming and all those things. The reality of our district, our average building is about 45 years old now. They're getting older. A good thing is that our population is actually starting to level out. Right now we're about 2,300 students, 2,280 to be almost exact. When I came on board 3 years ago, the projection was we were going to bottom out at 1,800 students. We're supposed to lose 600 more students over a 10-year time span. And that is deadly. That is a significant number. Now, we just got the most recent numbers and we've leveled out. We're actually looking to rebound, which I think I think that speaks volumes to our horizon here in our community. So we're supposed to rebound about 2,400 students. Now, historically, how that works off of live birth and it works off of move-outs and transiency. So basically what's happening is we're having more babies and more people are staying. So that's a good thing for us. So we're excited about that. My piece tonight is really kind of catch you up. There are a couple of burning questions that I know a few folks have, and I'm going to hopefully provide some. I've been burning the phones up the past couple of weeks talking with people and reassuring them about some of our decision making. And hey, and kind of explain that to everybody. I think tell you what our approach is going to be. Okay? So I hope that's somewhat of an outline. So my piece tonight is kind of fair. We're looking at a renovation at the high school. The high school right now is 41 years old. Our science rooms are extremely outdated. Our infrastructure is 40 years old. So I'm 45, for example, so this place was built when I was 5 years old. And if you think about what goes on in today's society, which is a good segue into when Scott and everybody talks, you look at where we are. Here, are we prepared to do what's best for our students? So we had to really take a hard look at the high school. The newest building in the district is the middle school. And the middle school is right now about 16 years old, 15 years old. The elementary schools were all built in the early 60s, 1963, 64-ish. There was an addition put on at Hassan a few years ago. And there was some work done at 7th Street a few years ago. No expansion at 7th Street, there was just some infrastructure work was done at 7th Street. So it's kind of where we are with all these things. The reality of our situation, our elementary buildings, we have students in trailers in our elementary schools. At Oakland, for example, we have a special ed teacher who's housed in the library as her classroom. We have 2 teachers sharing space out there. We have to take a harsh look at that. So one of the decisions that was made was, do you renovate extensively for elementary schools, or do we look at how can we free up a little bit of space there? So one of the decisions was made that when the middle school was built back in 94, 95, they allowed for an addition at the middle school, which makes a lot of sense, actually. The original talk when I first came here was they wanted to do 8 through 12. So if you can imagine, I was personally very uncomfortable with 13-year-olds intermingling every second of every day with 18-year-olds. So I said, well, let's look the other way and see how that pans out. So we looked at a 5th grade move to the middle school. Now you have 11-year-olds with 12 to 13-year-olds. And so we looked at that. We thought that was probably the best option to go, with the reality being, once we do the high school renovation, it's called a 20-year variance. So you can't touch a building financially for 20 years once you do a product. So what that means is, once we do this high school, we can't take a hard look at anything until 2029. So the elementary schools at that time were going to be 7 years old, gang. So we have to be a little forward thinking and see where we're going with that, and maintaining those buildings so that they're actually quality buildings. But the reality is, that's a decision down the road we're going to take a hard look at. Now, the big concern, and we're all, I'm a parent. We looked at these things. The reason we're talking tonight is because this is 2 years away, by the way, okay? This move. Big concerns, transportation, right? And how much mixing is there going to be with our 5th graders and our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders? Because that's kind of a crux year, that's a pretty important year, that 5th grade year. The first thing we want to do is we want to maintain the elementary schedule for the 5th grade. So the students won't be riding buses with this middle school, high school kids. We'll maintain that schedule so that, and it actually works out very, very well. If you think about now the Oakland, and I'm actually going, who's my Oakland people? I'll see you Tuesday, go to the school. I'm coming out Tuesday night to speak with you folks, okay? I talked with Stacy Brown. You have an insider in my office, so she passes all. I know, it's a good pipeline because he's always telling me what's going on. So I'm coming out Tuesday night to talk a little more specifically. Because of Oakland's location, logistics, it's 12 miles, 10 miles away, so we'll have to be a little careful with that. But quite honestly, the in-school programming, it's a pretty simple switch. The kids would come here, the 5th grade would ride the elementary run, drop off the elementary, drop off the K4 kids, and just, south side, you're looking a mile, passing, you're talking, half a mile maybe. So it's almost a non-issue. Now that means the 5th graders get here about 8:20. The middle school, high school starts at 7:45. So they'll be fully engaged into their day. The classrooms are self-contained, so there's no hallway connecting, or there's no crisscrossing of rooms or anything of that nature. So it's really the kids go to the classroom. 5th grade is usually a traditional model, and if they do switch teachers, they're still in their own little section. Okay, so they're going from here to here, not from here clean over through the 8th grade class wing to get to the right. So they're right there. Now, of course, the reality is we have to share the gym, we have to share the cafeteria. But again, by and large, with block scheduling, it's usually just a mass of 5th graders eating together for the most part. Is what it looks like. The end of the day is the same thing. They get out at the middle school, high school gets out about 2:40. The 5th grade gets out about 3:05-ish. So the bus is already gone. By and large, the bus runs in town are about 15 minutes. So they do the runs, we send buses back, pick up 5th graders, swing by, pick up the little guys, and then
how does the time work in for the lunch?
What do you mean?
When would you have to add an additional lunch time?
Well, we have time in the day. Yeah, we can trim back. We have some time, and those are some details that I'm not going to tell you we've got this all figured out. I wouldn't sit here and say that to you. But as far as we don't want kids eating lunch at 9:30 in the morning. I know that. I wouldn't mind it, but brunch and then make a little snack. So I'll schedule lunches for everybody. They can just kind of eat all day long. Now we're keenly aware of all that stuff. We had that at high school. We just went to 4 lunches. We did schools. We got to make sure that we feed like little ones. We feed the little ones at 10, and some people say, "Why would you do that?" I said, "Well, because we give them snacks at 1, so they can eat a lunch and then they get a snack at 1, so they're pretty good. It's not a major ordeal. But you don't give snacks in 5th grade, so you got to make sure that's in that 11 to 12:30 window where kids are being fed. So, and we'll be keen aware of this thing. And again, it's a 2-year process. So what I want to do is I try to be as open as possible. You always have an open door with me. You call me, email me.